Welcome to the Fantasy Happy Hour. Fantasy Happy Hour. Presented by Sportsneak. With your hosts, Justin Sauce and Terry Licious. Starting in 3, 2, 1.
Oh, welcome back. Fantasy Happy Hour. We are on week 14 of the NFL season. 4 weeks left. We're approaching the end here. Kind of a interesting Sunday. Another shout out for my Texans. Just hoping to tank to get that second overall pick. I think we might be out of it for the first. The Jaguars seem to be being just a little bit worse than the Texans, but
the Lions actually.
The Lions. Yeah, you're right. But they won this week, so
yes.
Hey, against one of the teams we're talking about right now. So we got the 6-5-1 Pittsburgh Steelers going up against Terran's 5-7 Vikings, coming off a hot 2-point loss to the Minnesota Vikings. What do you got for this showdown, Taryn? And how much faith do you have as a Vikings fan right now in that second position behind Green Bay?
I have faith in the Vikings for the first half of every game. That's how the Vikings season has went for me. They look really, really good for the one half, and then in the second or the third and fourth quarter, it just looks like everything falls apart. They quit throwing the ball. They quit moving the ball down the field. Defense loses interest maybe in the game. I don't know, but this might be the toughest season to be a Vikings fan because out of all their losses, they're now 5-7. I would say 5 of them should have been wins, like whether it was a field goal missed or, like last game, Detroit scores with a literal fourth quarter last throw of the game. And somehow the defense gives up a 24-yard touchdown throw. Like, I don't know. They're losing in the worst ways. And so and then their wins, like they beat Green Bay, for example, or they beat, some of these really good teams, and it just makes no sense. So I don't know if they still fight for the playoffs. It'll be a tough race to get in there, but Vikings fans been tough this year. Steelers, they're in the hunt still. They come back and do a similar thing there last week against the, I'm losing it, division rival, Baltimore Ravens. That's who it was. Good game, actually. Went right down to the wire. Injuries in this one are kind of interesting. Not so much on the Pittsburgh side, a little bit on defense, but the defense for the Vikings is full of injuries. And then on offense, where we really care about, it's Thielen. I think he's going to be out. It's a high ankle sprain. Usually that's 3 to 4 weeks. Typically, I don't expect him to play. Cook, they've been out. Well, Coach Speak said they expect a minimum of this week. He'll be out as well again. So they're both listed as questionable, but early looks, I don't think either are playing. And then we got the second best wide receiver in the league playing here for the Vikings. They're one shining light, and that's Justin Jefferson. He's now trailing Cooper Kupp by 150 yards to be the receiving leader, so he's catching up. And that's mostly due to the last 4 weeks. He's been over 140 yards in 3 of the last 4 games, and I think he's got 3 touchdowns. He's breaking, most slates. He's the guy you need. So that's kind of where we sit with this whole game. But Vikings defense is terrible. It's been terrible all season. Steelers defense, very hit or miss. I don't know. Can we call a shootout here? This is what I'm kind of leaning on. I just feel like it's going to be points. And one interesting part about this specific game with points is that both quarterbacks often get outscored by their receiving options or a couple of the options. So watch that. It might be one of those games where it blows up, high scoring, and you need more weapons than you need the quarterbacks. So that could happen here. I think if I'm going to lean a quarterback, I lean Cousins. But the core, I think, for the Steelers is, Harris, Johnson, Freiermuth. Deontay Johnson, 10 targets a game, still gets tons of work. So if I was to captain, it's probably him on that side. And he's actually a guy you don't need bandwidth, because if we want to talk about a guy that's been, very lackluster for a quarterback in fantasy, especially DraftKings, he's only broke 20 points one time this season. You don't see that very often for a quarterback. Whereas on the other side, Cousins, averaging 22, very efficient, very good. But without Thielen, if they bracket Jefferson somehow, I don't know where you go. So that's a GPP flyers here. I think Ty Conklin's really good. It seems like whenever a guy's hurt, Ty Conklin gets 9 targets. So lean there if you're going to go to maybe a value play. And then Osborne, he's seen, I think, 4 or more targets, and he sees a real uptick when Thielen's out. If you want to get real cheap here somehow, go for the third guy in. they've got like almost zero work, any of them. So DD Westbrook's there. And then there's a bunch of rookies, but I have no insight because none of them have seen a target when they come in. So if you're going to go deep, like I think I like going to Nwangwu, who's the third running back who's now back. He got hurt, but he did come in, get 2 targets, and he's the running back that's going to relieve Alexander Madison when you need it. Alexander Madison, great GPP play. If you want to take him, I think he's in a great spot. Whenever Cook's out, he gets all the work. This is a run first team, so look there. But I don't love it. I think Madison might be the guy to not get in. I think you play either Madison or Jefferson. So like if you want to take a long shot on this game, I think fade Jefferson. I think he's going to be 80-90% owned, but know what you're doing. Like when you're fading Jefferson, you're giving away the chance of pretty much being out in the first drive of the game. He's the guy you're going to see the 150-yard 1 touchdown game from, but if you fade him, you're now 10% of the field. So like if he somehow has a 3 for 40 game, no touchdowns, you're way ahead. Now on the other side, with this bad Vikings defense, I don't know where to go beyond, but I think that a play and a long shot play should be to look at Claypool over Deontay Johnson. This is a Vikings D that can't stop anything really, the wide receivers especially. So maybe they're going to get a lot of those long shot plays, which is where Claypool comes in a lot more than Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson's a guy you need to get first downs over and over. Mostly Claypool's going to be your 40-yard bomb guy. And I could see that opening up in this game. So I might lean there if you're going to get really kind of weird. So I wouldn't fade Johnson and Jefferson. I would play one of them. Those are the 2 guys I think should be in everybody's lineup. And Najee Harris too. I think he should be your captain in a lot of cases if you're not playing the others. So those are the 3 captains I would take. It's either Johnson, Jefferson, or Harris. But fading one of them gets you ahead of the field by quite a bit because those are probably going to be the 3 highest owned guys. And then I think fall back. There was an announcement. TJ Watt's now leading the league in sacks, and he's missed 3 games, so he's pretty proud of himself on Twitter. Saw that. So this could be a great game for sacks. I mean, if you look at the game log of the Pittsburgh defense, they sacked like 3 to 4, 7 times last week, and Minnesota's known for choking a lot of pressure up on Cousins. So I really think they're in play. Even with Cousins stacks, I think he could get sacked 7 times and still put up his 300. So that's kind of where I would go. I think this is a shootout, so I'd play more weapons than defenses. I like it. Go high, but I've been wrong a lot lately. So maybe go the opposite. Go defense and ugly game here. So I'll pass it over to you for double doink central.
Well, I'm kind of on the same page with just feeling that we're going to get a high scoring game. However, usually when that happens, I don't mind throwing a kicker in the odd lineup, but I'm still I think fade them, both of them. We'll go to Vikings first and Greg Joseph, who good week last week. I mean, when the Vikings do good, he does good, but there's just so many other threats on that team that, like you said, with Jefferson and Cousins, that it just doesn't make sense to keep him. But for some stats, he's got 85% on the year for field goals, 24 for 28, 55 longer, pretty good 55 longer. We still have no one close yet to the Ravens, Justin Tucker here, but hey. And then the other side of the ball, we got Chris Boswell, 24 for 25, 96%. Solid year for him, 56 longer, 1 yard longer. But like I said, fade both in the lineups. I'm liking mixing up a lot of the offensive players in this week's showdown here, and even mixing in the defense as opposed to the kicker, because typically what I would try to do is you're either going to sneak the kicker in some lineups or you're going to sneak in the defense, rarely both. And like for reasons you mentioned about the Steelers defense earlier, that's probably the lean for me. And just with how the Vikings have been playing lately too. So that's it for me. You got anything else to add in before we wrap this up?
Oh, long shot play. CJ Ham gets in the end zone.
Love it. Thank you for that. Thank you guys for watching. We're now 14 weeks in. If you like this, give us a like, comment who you're taking in your lineups below, and we'll see you next week. We're week 15. We're almost at the Christmas break here. No break in football, but then things will be ramping up with Taryn and I. So thank you guys and peace. We'll see you next week.